use a semi-gloss or a flat finish to paint your walls?
Yeah, we use both.
Oh, I see. You mean different finishes for different rooms?
No, I mean, we mix the paints together. Interior, exterior, semi-gloss, flat, whatever laying around. We're not picky.
Well, it looks like that's exactly what they did when they painted this house. Here on this piece of trim, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors of paint right there. They didn't do it at one time though, they did it over the years. When you build a brand new house and you paint it, you want a good primer and then you want 2 good coats of paint on it. This was built up over the years, so we're gonna have to remove it. There's several different ways to do that. They almost started removing it themselves though, because they painted a latex paint over an oil-based paint. Now, latex paint is water-based and it's probably the most common type of paint used today. Oil-based paint had its heyday. It was great for using a high gloss finish and it had a lot of good qualities, but latex has come so far that it's now surpassed oil-based paints. Latex are much easier to clean up when you have it on your hands or on your brushes. They don't blister and peel like oil paints sometimes do. Plus, there's not that odor when you're painting inside your house. So latex has a lot of great features, especially touch-up. If you touch up oil paint, you can see where you touched up. With latex paint, you go right over it and it blends in. And if you have kids and they leave handprints on the walls, with most latex paints, you can now wash the prints right off the wall and not remove the paint. But here on this one, they put latex on top of an oil-based paint and they didn't treat the oil-based finish. When you don't treat it and you put latex on top, the latex just peels off over a year or two. So we've already got some of it coming off, and then the painters have been in here trying to remove some of the rest of it. A few different ways to remove paint. One is with a grinding wheel. You have sandpaper on it and you just go up and down through there. But with trim like this, with all the details in it, you couldn't use a wheel this large. Another way to do it is with the heat gun. You've heard that it's so hot that paint peels. Well, that actually happens. You put a heat gun up against paint, get it hot enough, it will start to peel off. I sort of like the old-fashioned way, and that's with a hand and with some sandpaper. Just rub it up and down through there. Now, if you wanted a great finish for your new paint, you would remove all of this all the way down to the wood. But this home's about 80 years old, and like I said, it's got 4 different layers of paint right there. That would take quite a while to do with all the trim in this house. So up here, we did it a little different. We went ahead and sanded it down and got it fairly smooth, and then we put a layer of primer on top of that. Then we come back with some sandpaper, and we actually do a light sanding on the primer. Now the primer has filled in all the holes and the gaps through here. Then when we sand it smooth, we've got a good smooth finish, but it didn't take as much time or elbow grease as it would to remove this all the way down in the wood. So it is one way to save time and money and still get a good finish. Now you need a primer to help the paint really stick to the trim or to your walls. Primer is always important when you paint. Put it down first and then put a couple coats of paint on top of that. On the walls, these walls are already painted, so we can just paint right on top of them. If this was brand new sheetrock, we would go ahead and put primer on the sheetrock and then we would paint on top of the primer. You always want primer as your first coat, and then you can put layers on top of that as long as you keep it smooth and dry. Those are very important when you're painting a home. Now when it comes to putting on a paint, there's a lot of choices to make. You need to get the right brush for the paint that you're using. Sit down with someone at the paint store and ask them what's the perfect brush, and also make sure that it's the right size for the job you're doing. If you have very intricate trim, you might need a little bit smaller brush to get into those tight spots, so get the right tool for the job. On the walls themselves, there's going to be a lot of walls to cover. Go with the roller. It does a great job. You can cover a lot of area in a short amount of time, and paint is very hard work. You don't want to spend a lot of time doing it, so go with the roller and get one with a long nap. If you put these side by side, look how much longer the nap is on this one. It's going to leave a much nicer finish, more solid. You're not going to see little strings running up and down in your wall. On the finish itself, on the paint, there's thousands of choices of paint, but basically 3 finishes. Here we've got flat, and then we've got semi-gloss, and then we've got high gloss. If I turn it slowly here in the light, you can see all 3, even though it is the same color paint. Now use the flat for your walls, and then the semi-gloss or the high gloss on your trim around the base molding, the windows and doors, even on your crown molding. It really sets off the room and adds a lot of detail. Now when you paint a house, whether it's an existing home or a brand new home, you need to get down to that wood surface and you need to put on a coat of primer. It really makes the paint adhere to the walls, and then 2 full coats of paint.